Thank you. So good evening, and thank you everyone for joining us tonight for your community engagement live webinar. We are doing this webinar for regions 47, 16, and 8. And so if that is where you intended to be, you are in the right place tonight for 47, 16, and 8. As you can see, we are recording this session. And all of the recordings will be shared on our Birth to 5 YouTube channel. They get posted immediately after the session. So if there's anyone that you know of that would be interested in this information, maybe wasn't able to make it, maybe wasn't aware of it until the last minute and they were not able to attend, you can direct them to our Birth to 5 YouTube channel. If there are pieces that you miss out on because of other obligations, you're trying to multitask tonight and you miss certain sections, it's there for you as well. And then all of our other presentations that we've done this month are also posted for other regions. So if you're interested in other regions that we've already done, you can go on that YouTube channel and those are there as well. We are also offering live Spanish interpretation tonight. And so I will pause for a second now for anyone who would like to participate in Spanish to get that message and instruction.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm going to jump right into Spanish. Buenas tardes, ¿cómo están? Soy Gabriela, la intérprete de español. Bienvenidos y bienvenidas. Me gustaría mostrarle cómo ustedes pueden entrar al canal de español. Si usted está usando una computadora, por favor vaya a la parte inferior de su pantalla. Va a haber un globo del mundo que dice interpretación. Dele clic a ese globo y seleccione Spanish. Si usted está usando un iPad, un teléfono o una tableta, toque su pantalla. Van a haber 3 puntos en la parte derecha de abajo. Seleccione esos 3 puntos. Se va a abrir un menú. Seleccione la palabra la opción de lenguaje, interpretación o interpretación de idiomas, seleccione allí. Se va a abrir un menú con 2 idiomas, inglés y español. Seleccione español o Spanish. Una vez que seleccione el idioma de su preferencia, por favor toque la palabra que dice D de dedo o N, listo o finalizar. Y esto le va a permitir estar en el canal de español. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the presentation.
Thank you, Gabriela. We are also, there's also closed captioning available as well that is provided by Zoom. And so just want to apologize in advance for any errors that may occur with the closed captioning as Zoom provides that and we are not in control of that. And sometimes there are errors that come up as we are presenting. And so we apologize in advance for any of those errors that may occur tonight if you're using the closed captioning. Another thing I want to point out is we changed our format tonight from initially was going to be a town hall to more of a live webinar. And that was to make sure that we have the highest quality experience for all of our attendees. Making sure that we have ample time to answer questions. And so everyone walks away with a better understanding and with any burning questions that they had answered tonight. Our goals for tonight are to introduce our team to you so that you understand everyone and roles at Birth to 5 Illinois. Also to share more about the work of Birth to 5 and what that work will be for the Action and the Family Councils in the regions. And again, like I said, to answer questions. That is really why we are coming to community, is to be able to share more information and to answer any questions that folks may have for us. And so in that vein, I will add that some of the information that we are sharing tonight may be familiar to some of you. If you've been following us, if you've subscribed to our emails, if you are following us on social media or visiting our website quite frequently, or if you were participating in our kickoffs that we had in early February, some of this is a repeat of that, but I want to reassure that a lot of this information is new information for all attendees that are participating tonight. So regarding questions, the chat is open. We use the chat quite frequently during the presentation to drop links about things that we may reference during the presentation. It's also open for you if you want to put any comments or information in there, or if you want to comment to others that are in the webinar as well. The chat is available for that. However, if you have questions that you would like that come up as we're doing the presentation and you have questions, you can use the Q&A box feature that's at the bottom of your screen. So please use that Q&A box if you have any questions that you would like for us to answer, because that is what we will refer to when we get to that portion of the presentation. So we'll be answering questions tonight first that were submitted to us via the registration. There was an opportunity, if you registered for tonight's event, there was an opportunity to submit any questions at the time of registration. So we take those and we will answer those first. And then secondly, we will answer any questions that were submitted to us via that Q&A box that I just talked about. And then thirdly, we will open it up at the very end. Once we've gone through those questions, we will open it up at the end for live Q&A. So if someone wants to come and ask a question, come off mute, we will take you off mute. Everyone is muted right now. And so if you, at that time, if you want to come off of mute and ask a question live, there will be an opportunity to do that. You can use the raise hand function. That's also located at the bottom of your screen. And so once we get to that portion of the live Q&A, you can use that raise hand function and we will acknowledge you and then take you off of mute so that you can ask your question. But please wait until we get to the live question session before raising your hand, because that is when we will start to acknowledge any questions that you want to ask live. And then finally, we've gotten some questions around whether we will give any certificates of attendance for tonight's session. And unfortunately, we will not be giving any certificates for attendance for tonight's session. So I think that takes care of all of our housekeeping items. And so now we will go ahead and get started with the presentation. All right, and we will start with kind of level setting here and talking about our mission, vision, and our values. Starting with our vision statement is reimagining a more equitable early childhood education and care system that ensures family and community voice is centered and prioritized at every level of decision-making in Illinois. And you will notice kind of the hallmarks within our vision that we are very committed to, and that includes equity and centering and prioritizing family and community voice. So those are the things that are really the hallmarks of our work and that we keep, that we prioritize and we amplify. And that's going to come through with the action and the family councils as well. So it is definitely hallmarks of our vision. Next slide, please. Which brings us to our mission. So our mission is to create a statewide regional infrastructure that will amplify input from communities in the development of policies and funding priorities. We mobilize communities to build and sustain equitable access to inclusive, high quality early childhood services for all children and families in the state of Illinois. And one of the things we like to point out that we value as far as our mission statement is that, you know, we are creating a regional infrastructure, but the most important piece is bringing those stakeholders together to talk about and identify those challenges and those needs that are necessary in their own communities, and to mobilize folks within the community to start to figure out, like, how do we address these challenges and meet the needs of the families within our own communities. And so mobilizing communities to get to that equity while also amplifying the voices of the community. You know, typically there is a top-down approach when it comes to decision making and things like that within the state, and we're trying to flip that and make it more of the bottom-up approach where communities, community members, providers, and families are driving that decision making and informing those processes directly so that they are getting the services that they need. Next slide. which brings us to our values and our goals. So again, family voice. We are really focused on really trying to get to that authentic family and community engagement. And by doing this, we hope to address like the inequitable distribution of like resources throughout the state and services, and try to really work on transforming our state system into one that is more equitable, that is where family voice is prioritized and is driving those decisions, where families are really telling us what their needs are instead of just people in decision-making positions making those decisions for families, where families are really driving that decision-making process and informing that decision-making process. For racial equity, we know, unfortunately, race tends to be a predictor of a child's success. And so we intend to address barriers that have traditionally limited access to those high quality services for minoritized children in parts of our state. And so hoping to build a system where race is no longer a predictor of a child's success, but everyone has access to those high quality services that are necessary for our children's development and optimal function in their lives and development. Then which brings us to collective impact. So we are looking to build a system that really harnesses the knowledge that comes directly from families, and then take that information to mobilize those within the community and also decision makers to ensure that those new or expanded services and those opportunities that become available are created to meet the actual needs and directly influences those in the community. And so also influencing the policy and the funding at the local, regional, and at the state levels. Next slide. So here is our small but mighty team at Birth to Five, Illinois. So we have our state director, Cicely Fleming. I think I neglected I had gotten really good at this and now I did it again. I neglected to introduce myself at the very beginning. I am Sonia Clark, the Director of Operations at Birth to Five. We have Dina Chapman, who is our Family and Community Engagement Manager. We have David Quiros, who is our Family and Community Engagement Coordinator. We have Angela Hubbard, who is our Grants and Relationships Manager. Maggie Kohler, who is our Communications Manager, and Jess Scheinflug, who is our Project Coordinator. Just wanted to note, joining me tonight on tonight's call, we have Maggie Kohler, we have, and David Quiros, we have joining us tonight from our state team. And so you may be wondering, where's the rest of our team? And so just wanted to note that we are doing 2 of these events simultaneously. So we kind of split our team in half. And so some of us are in this particular one with you all. And then we have the rest of our team that are in doing another region at the same time. So the rest of our team is doing the exact same thing we're doing right now with another region. Next slide. All right. We also have our fabulous area coordinators who are also a part of our team. And we have really kind of split the state up into 6 areas. And so we have area coordinators who have really been our boots on the ground and getting the word out, getting engagement across the state. We couldn't do this work without our area coordinators out there really pounding the pavement for us to get the word out, to get interest for these action councils, to let folks know about opportunities that are available, and to just reach out to different stakeholder groups to let them know and make them aware of the action councils and the intentionality of the action councils. So for Area 1, we have Corrine Nunnally. For Area 2, we have Diana Murdian, and Diana Murdian is also joining us tonight on the call, and Diana is your area coordinator for your region. So she is available to answer any follow-up questions if you have questions after tonight. If you want to gather a group of folks together and spread the word and learn more about Birth to Five, she's available for that too. She has been doing that work for some time, and so she is available to answer any questions and for any supports you may need. And her information is being dropped into the chat box so that you have her direct contact information. We also have Jackie Jones for Area 3, Dana David for Area 4, Kim Hunt for Area 5, and Lori Longbill for Area 6. Next slide. Okay, so what is Birth to Five Illinois? So in partnership with both the state of Illinois and then also the Illinois Network of Child Care Resource and Referral Agencies, better known to everyone as INCRA, we have launched Birth to Five, which has really just been tasked with creating these Birth to Five action councils and the family councils in each of the 39 regions in the state of Illinois. We are right now, we have been working more frivolously with region with 38 of those regions. 39, the 39th region would be the city of Chicago, and we are working with them to get their kickoff. They were not included in our original kickoffs in February, but we are working with Every Child Ready Chicago to get them their council up and running in the city of Chicago, and their kickoff is coming up on April 6th for anyone that may have an interest in learning more about what's happening there. On this map, you will notice the regions and how they are defined in the geography of the regions. We are using, we share the geographic boundaries with Illinois State Board of Education's regional offices of education, but we do operate independently. And so we just like to make that distinction because this map may look familiar to some of you. And so it is that regional office, that ROE map, which we do share the geography with, but we do operate independently from those offices. So our efforts aim to match policy making and funding distribution at the state level with local needs. And we're really looking to support local residents in coming together to address early childhood needs within their own communities. And then to make sure that the state's policies and their funding priorities actually match those needs that are identified in each one of those regions, making sure that, again, that we are prioritizing the voices of families and the providers within those communities, and also to provide equitable access to the high quality early childhood services for all children in the region. And so we are welcoming people that have a range of experience within early childhood, including those that are new to this type of work. And so we'll talk a little bit more about the stakeholder groups that we're looking to engage in this process, but we're looking for those that have experience and those that are new to this type of work to get that perspective on our councils as well. We are in the process of hiring, so we're going to have dedicated staff in each region. And right now we are in the process of hiring a regional action council manager in each of those 39 regions, or each of the 38. City of Chicago will be posted after their kickoff on April 6th. So we will have those regional action council managers in place. Once we get those regional action council managers in place, they will be responsible for hiring the 2 additional staff that we intend to have in each one of the regions, which will be a family and community engagement person and also an admin/data person. So those 3 dedicated positions are allocated for each one of the regions, each one of those 39 regions in the state. We are also on our Birth to Five Illinois state team, have an opportunity available for a data manager. And so that opportunity is being put in the chat if you're interested in that opportunity as well. Next slide. Okay. All right. So now I will hand it off to my colleague, the awesome David Quiros, who is going to talk more about serving on our Birth to 5 Action Councils. David?
Great. Thank you so much, Sonia. Hi, everyone. Like Sonia mentioned, my name is David Quiros. I'm the Family and Community Engagement Coordinator with the Birth to 5 team. So happy to have you here tonight. We're going to dive into what these councils look like, a little bit more detail about them. We're going to start off, like Sonia mentioned, with the Action Council. Now here on your screen, you see those that kind of diverse group that we're looking for, these stakeholders that are in the community already doing some amazing work. These are the folks we're looking to sit on about 15-member action council for each of the 39 regions. I'm not going to read through all of these, but I do want to go over some. You can find this list on our website as well. I guess I want to point out first, you see right there is parents and family members. We absolutely want the voice of parents and families in the Action Council. That is the foundation of our work at Birth to 5 Illinois. So we do have at least 2 seats reserved for families to represent in this council. Along with them, you can see family child care staff, staff of the Regional Office of Education, local school district staff. I'm going to say teachers as well in there would be fantastic. Local and county elected officials, higher education, business representative, members of the faith community, et cetera, et cetera. So just a nice mix of the individuals on this list. Again, it has to be one of each. We want a nice healthy mix that kind of represents what the landscape of the region actually is. Next slide, please. All right, perfect. So what will the Birth to 5 Action Council actually do? So they're going to play a very important leadership role in providing a direction and a vision for this region, for their region. They will identify gaps, right, in early childhood in that landscape. They will amplify the voices of the family in that region. They will work closely with local coalitions that are already doing some of this amazing work and merge kind of some of those community goals. Communicate regularly with families, providers, really anyone that is interested in hearing the work and being just updating to everyone that's in that region. Connect with early childhood systems, work closely with us here at the Birth to 5 Illinois State team, the Action Council staff that's going to be housed at each of the regions, as well as the early childhood transformation team, and of course, other partners and organizations throughout the state. They're going to conduct a regional scan or a needs assessment for a region, for that region. This will happen, of course, with input from the Family Council, which we'll go into in a little bit. They will also create that annual report that makes recommendations to expand or create new services within a region. So a lot going on in the Action Council, but all of it is going to come from that support from that Family Council, which we'll go into next. Next slide, please. Perfect. Still in the Action Council, how can you be a member of the Action Council? So what we're asking for those members is to live, work, or receive early childhood services in the region. Now, if someone lives or works in a different region, we encourage them to apply for the region that they think they would be able to contribute the most or have the greatest impact, right? This is a volunteer leadership role, the Action Council, and we do expect the councils to meet about twice per month. There may be some additional tasks outside of those meetings, but hopefully we're hoping to stick to those 2 meetings per month. We ask members of the Action Council to serve a 2-year term. Now, you will have the option to serve for 1 year with the opportunity then to later continue for your 2nd year. Family members, as I mentioned, are an important role in this work, and those who serve in the Action Council will receive a stipend for their time and experiences and their contributions to this council. Next slide, please. Yes. So the Family Council now. So true transformation can only happen with authentic parent engagement, and that's what the Family Council is going to have. In addition to the Action Council, we look to seat about 15 members into this council as well, and each region will be targeting families in that priority population, right? Those those underrepresented areas. Those are the families we're really trying to stand up in this council. Families who have children under the age of 8 or experiences in early childhood programs in that region or care services, they're encouraged to apply as well. And like I mentioned, around 15 members, just like the Action Council. Now, I do want to point out that we might not start with 15 members in either of these, and we are allowing ourselves to build up, right? So if we have 3, 4, 5, 6, we want to start there and kind of build as time goes on. 15 is just what we think would be a nice number to get that nice mix of people. Next slide, please. Perfect. So what will the Family Council actually do? Super important role. They're going to make a difference, a big difference in the children and the families in their community, right? They, first and foremost, they serve as the advisory committee to the Action Council, right? They're going to give them that voice. They're going to share the input, give feedback. They're going to advocate for families who might not be seated in that Family Council. They're going to spread the word about the work of Birth to 5, identify gaps, raise issues of concern. So they're really driving all of the work that's going to be happening in that region. That's where their time and their experience and their narrative is going to be so critical. Next slide. Perfect. So what are we looking for in a Family Council? Who are we looking to seat? Like I had mentioned previously, living across all the different regions, all the different areas in the region, especially those that have been under-resourced and underrepresented. We're looking for racial diversity in the region. Again, we're looking for families who have at least one child under the age of 8 or experience in early childhood services. We're also looking for the Family Council members to serve that 2-year term. Now, again, like the Action Council, they'll have the option to serve for 1 year and then later continue into their 2nd year. We're also looking to have about 2 meetings a month for the Family Council, possibly a little bit of outreach and things like that, engaging with the community outside of that, but really those 2 meetings will be the core. And like the members in the Action Council, the family members who serve on the Birth to 5 Family Council will receive a stipend for their time and experience. That is very important to us. We want to make sure to point that out. Now, we do have a flyer for the Birth to 5 Family Council, and we are going to add that to the chat so that you can take a look, and it's also on our website if you'd like to download it and share it with your friends. Next slide, please. Yes, so one more piece, the selection committee. So the selection committee is also going to play a very important role. They're going to be the ones who are kind of looking at all these interest forms that we've received and will continue to receive and help us get to that really diverse and healthy mix of individuals for each of these councils. We ask that the selection committee members, like in the councils, reside, work, or receive services in their region. They're committed to the early childhood education and care, number one, and are willing to work collaboratively with others. Now, we don't anticipate that this role will take as long as the councils. Obviously, the councils are months and years. This is only a couple of weeks. We're anticipating maybe 2 to 3 weeks that the selection committee will kind of take to go through these initial interest forms to determine who will participate in the councils. This is a volunteer role. And we also ask that if you are interested in being a part of the selection committee, you have not applied for either the Action or the Family Council. Okay, and we anticipate the work of this council, of this selection committee, will start fairly soon as we start kind of closing the loop on some of these regions as far as receiving their interest forms. And next slide, please. Perfect. So now I'm going to transition to our next speaker, a colleague of mine, Diane, who's going to talk to us about the collaborations with the collaboration that's going to happen with local entities already in place.
Thank you, David, and good evening, everybody. My name is Diana Meridian. I am the Area 2 coordinator with the Birth to 5 Illinois team. So we're going to talk a little bit about partnering with our community and local collaborations. Birth to 5 and the Action Councils and the Family Councils will work in partnership with the local collaborations throughout the state both to help build capacity where possible. Some of our areas might not have a local collaboration, so really trying to kind of help build that. And then also share information on future planning and future funding. Action and family councils will not replace or duplicate the work of local community collaborations. Ultimately, our goal is to make the community work easier. And if and when new governance and funding model for early childhood education and care is designated in the state, that would actually help families. They will be helping and sharing that information. For organizations already working at a regional level, our leadership team has been in talks and in engaging with those areas in conversations for alignment efforts. In areas where a more localized efforts are needed, once hired, a regional staff will look to build on the work of the collaborations by ensuring that they are focused on gaps, barriers, and expansion efforts as needed, and then highlighting the information on that regional scan and needs assessment. In addition, throughout this work, new efforts will be focused on engaging families and providers that have historically been left out. It is our hope that Birth to 5 Illinois is seen as part of a community system and is an additional early childhood education advocate. And finally, funding opportunity will be launched in the spring of 2022 to help collaborations regain and increase enrollment in early childhood programs, especially programs that saw decreases in enrollment due to the pandemic. And more information will be shared as that becomes available. Next slide. Okay, so both the Birth to 5 and family councils will be community driven. Birth to 5 Illinois is providing the infrastructure and support to ensure that there is equitable representation on both councils in all of the regions. We are ready to stand up councils as soon as the community is ready. And so that's why we kind of need everybody to go out and, either choose either the family council or the action council, or if you are so chosen and feel the passion to do the selection committee as well. We have all three of those forms on our website. They are all available in English, Spanish, and Polish. And you can see on our website that is also available in English, Spanish, and Polish. And we want to encourage everybody to look at our frequently asked questions. They are updated quite frequently by our wonderful team. And you can see some of your answers that you might have had during our regional kickoff earlier in February. Next slide, please. Additionally, anyone that's interested, we have open positions for those area manager positions, those 38 and soon to be 30 or total of 39. And we are also looking for a data manager to join our state team to help with the needs of the regional action councils. We ask that you subscribe to our email communications so that you can stay in the loop and connect with us on social media, and links for our social media platforms are at the bottom of our website and then on the bottom of our email communications as well. Next slide, please. And that concludes our presentation for tonight's event. We are going to transition into our question and answer portion for tonight by answering the questions that were submitted to us in advance of tonight's session. So I am going to throw it on back over to David, and he will take us away.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Diana. All right, now to the good part. So let's go through some of the questions that you've already submitted ahead of time for us. Now, before I actually go into reading some of those questions, I do want to start with this. We've received several questions about child development and early childhood educator compensation, childcare assistance, data, program funding, and other things such as those. A lot of those things are not within the purview of the work of Birth to 5 Illinois. So again, Birth to 5 Illinois is creating this infrastructure throughout the state to collect the narrative of parents. If you have questions along those lines, we encourage you to visit the Illinois Cares for Kids website, which is the state's early childhood consumer education website, to see if your questions might be answered there or linked there to other state sites. All right, now that we got that out of the way, let's start with the first question that was submitted from your region, and I'm going to go ahead and read it. It says, I would like to know if the team is including children with disabilities as a priority when considering equity. Children with disabilities and their families have been marginalized for far too long and need to be a priority when discussing and providing equity in early childhood programs. Great question. And I'll just say this, I think I speak for everyone on our team that absolutely, yes, 100% children with disabilities are included in not only in the priority populations as stated by the state of Illinois, and I believe we had a link to that list, which if we do, maybe we can throw that up again on our chat. But yes, early intervention, early childhood special education are both included in the scope of the services of the regional scan that we're looking to build. And for that, we're looking for providers, we're looking for educators in this field to be a part of both the Action Council and families to be a part of the Family Council. We absolutely want to hear what's going on, and it's something that's very important to us. Like I said, along with all those other priorities, all those other families and households listed under those categories in the priority populations for the state. So that was a first question. I'm going to go ahead and continue with another question. Let's do this one. What is the state of Illinois already doing to encourage parents to take their young children to enroll in early childhood programs? Great question. So the state is currently running a statewide early childhood awareness and enrollment campaign that focuses on families with young children. It talks about the importance of early learning and the ability that early childhood programs have to support families. That campaign is expected to launch very soon. And as part of the efforts of that campaign, Illinois Cares for Kids, the website that I mentioned just a second ago, which is kind of the consumer education website for early childhood, is inviting all families in the state to join Ready for K. Now, what is Ready for K? It is a free research-based text messaging program that offers families 2 to 3, I believe 3 text messages per week with fun facts and tips on how to work with your children as they grow older. Illinois families can sign up for that right now. If you go to that website, you'll get more information, and we'll make sure to put the link in the chat for you as well. All right, let's go. Let me find another question. So what are the deliverables for the Birth to 5 Action and Family Councils? Okay, so in that first year, the councils, like we've mentioned, will be working to connect families to services that they were utilizing kind of that pre-pandemic time. Per the state directive, Birth to 5 Action Councils will deliver that full regional scan, that needs assessment that I had mentioned earlier. That's really the main goal in the next couple of months. And actually that piece we're looking to have completed by December 2022. So it's we're not even a full year out. We're just in a couple of months. Now this report will be generated with support from Illinois Actions for Children. And that's why it's so important that you help us kind of spread the word about this work so that we can get as many voices to the table as we possibly can. Of course, if we don't have a family council, or it's very small, or an action council as well, we are still going to make that region part of that general deliverable for the year. I mean, we're still going to go out and collect the data for that region. So I just want to mention that as well. Next question. What is the time frame to stand up these Birth to 5 councils? When can we expect to see the implementation of their work? Great question. So Birth to 5 is providing that state infrastructure, right? The staffing, the framework, so that the communities in the regions can do and actually see what that region has to offer right now. Councils will be developed based on community interests. There is no state timeline for when we have to have these councils up and running. And like my colleague was saying earlier, we're going to formalize these action and family councils when the staffing positions have been filled and that diverse community members that we're looking for are identified and wanting to participate in these councils. So again, there's no state timeline. There's no deadline to when we have to have these up and running. This is going to be an ongoing process, but we're ready to go as soon as regions are ready to go. All right, and I think I have one more, and then I promise I'll be done. It says, yes, why is the data on your website that you shared during your February kickoff event outdated? Good question. So the Illinois Early Childhood Asset Map, the ICAM. Now that's what we use. That's what we used for a lot of the data on our kickoff in those slides. Now the data for ICAM and other state entities that collect data at that capacity are not up to date to the minute data sources. A lot of that data is typically at the end of the year, at the end of the fiscal year, meaning that could be 1 or 2 years delayed. That's why some of the data that you saw might have been a year old. It doesn't exist. There is no platform right now or system in the state that can give us an up-to-date, this is what's happening in this region. The demographic data for the census even isn't that up to date, right? So why do I mention this? It's because think about the mission of Birth to 5. I mean, that's why this is so important. That's why this work is critical. Birth to 5 can essentially become a real-time, this is what's happening throughout the entire state per region. And that is going to be so powerful in making decisions down the road, funding decisions, and really any decision that affects young children. So I want to finish with this one because this really kind of sums up the importance of why we're doing this, why it's important. And at the base and at the foundation is that family voice. They're going to tell us what is happening, and we'll be able to reach out to regions and say, you know, what's happening with this program, what's happening over here with these programs, what are the slots looking like here? And we'll be able to know this information much more quicker right now than any data source that the state has available to us. So I'm going to be quiet for a little bit and pass it on. I don't know if we have any questions, Maggie, from anyone on the call tonight.
We do. Thank you so much,
Great.
David. Awesome. So thank you again, everyone, so much for being here. We're going to now transition into more of a live Q&A. So I'm going to go ahead and start to read aloud some of the questions that were submitted to us, and then someone from our team will answer them. Again, really encourage anyone with a question to go ahead and drop it into the Q&A that's at the bottom of your screen, and we'll just go ahead and read aloud and answer. Also, just as Sonia said in the beginning, if anyone wants to use the raise hand function and come off mute and you'd prefer to kind of talk the question aloud, we'd be happy to facilitate that as well. All right, so the first is more of a comment than a question, but I'm just going to go ahead and read it aloud and maybe we can just reply to it. So if you're going to engage the business community, there needs to be some discussion as to why they should be part of the conversation. There's a big disconnect between parents, employers, and childcare. Some employers may feel it is not an issue.
And that is 100% true. And which is why we feel like it is so important to get those business folks in the community engaged in this process so that they see the stake that it has. I mean, I know they can see the workforce issues that are coming out, where families are not able to take jobs that may be available because there is no available childcare. And so no one to take care of their children, so they can't take a job. So they may not understand that that is the reason why they can't fill their position. So it's really important to bring them into this fold for that reason, and also see that they play a part in it as well. So when we talk about buy-in, and the reason why we want this diversity of stakeholders within the community is so that we have buy-in. And that's just not, you know, I don't mean that just figuratively speaking, but I mean it literally speaking as well. And so communities and regions come together with this diverse group of folks to figure out, like, what are the needs and what can we do for ourselves and how can we mobilize ourselves to like meet the needs of our community instead of always waiting for the state to solve our problems for us. And so it takes a village, it takes a community to get together to solve those problems and to mobilize and begin to come up with ways that they can leverage the strengths that are in that community and in that region to solve for these problems. And the business community is a large part of that. And so we are targeting like chambers of commerce to do presentations with them to help them understand their role in this. And so so that is, we are working and very diligent and very targeted with that business community. One thing I will say is that in certain parts of the state, the business community is engaged. And so it's nice to have that engagement. It also gives us an opportunity to ask those business folks that are already engaged, like, what was the hook, right? And so what can we take and how can we direct our messaging to other business folks to help them to see the benefit of their engagement in this process? So agree 100% with that.
Awesome. Thanks, Sonia. And actually the individual who asked made the comment has his or her hand raised. So if we could please go ahead and invite Chris to come off mute, that would be wonderful.
Thank you, Maggie. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfectly.
So I am the executive director of the chamber, and I'm actually in Diana's region. And so as this grows, and I sit on the state board of the Illinois Chamber Execs, and so this is a conversation, but what you said, Sonia, is great, but the point that's being missed is many employers, they're not seeing the need because people aren't even applying for jobs. So those people that have childcare issues, they know it's a childcare issue, but when we survey, so there's like 16 industries to keep this short. If we were to survey manufacturing, many of them would say, well, it's not an issue because nobody's even applying. They're not even getting the applications to see the barrier. So I'm trying to be as tactful as possible. You have to back the truck up a lot further than to talk to the business community and parents that aren't applying for jobs because they already know childcare is an issue. The business community doesn't know that. And I will tell you, in an interview, because the workforce is so stretched, a lot of times the employer is saying, that didn't come up, they didn't share, they had childcare issues, then they get hired and then it becomes an issue. So we've got to teach families that are applying to be much more transparent and honest that I don't think I can work second shift because I don't have anyone to pick my kids up from school. And so the business community is really willing to be part of that conversation, but I think it's going to start maybe way earlier than this initiative even understood, because the majority of your businesses surveyed would say, we don't know that's an issue.
Right.
And many are, because of the workforce challenges, many are not doing exit interviews anymore because of lack of staffing to know why people might be leaving. So that's important for y'all to keep in mind too. 15 years ago, we were doing a much better job of exit interviews when somebody left a business. We're not able to do that as much now.
Yeah, and totally agree. And even like when you do an exit interview, how honest are people in the exit interview too? And so do they disclose everything as what their reason for leaving is too? And so, yeah, we definitely appreciate your feedback. And so we're hoping that through our efforts, marketing efforts, and then as we get out there and we talk to various chambers of commerce, that we're telling them exactly what you're talking about so that they are aware of it. Because like you said, they're not even applying and they don't know why. And so giving them that information, like this could be a reason why you're not getting any applicants because there is no childcare available for them. And then providing them with that information at the regional level, right? And so having them be able to see, like, this is where the gaps are. Like, there is no, there's only one childcare center in your particular area that's accessible, transportation wise, and that's considered high quality as well. And so we think that as we educate folks, that is our mission, is to really educate and bring everyone up to speed on just the whole scope of early childhood in general. And so they can see that impact. So thank you for that.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and ask or read aloud another question that was asked. What is your total budget for this initiative, including INCRA and Illinois Action for Children and all the layers of administration?
So our funding comes from, we have the Gear 2 funding, which is where our funding comes from. So we have that Gear 2 funding through ISB. Our budget is about 8 million to stand up councils. That includes office spaces, it includes staffing. The large majority of that is on staffing to make sure that we are allocating staff to be able to do the work with the priorities with these regional scans and the needs assessment and everything that we're doing with the state so that we can build this infrastructure throughout the entire state. So we have that Gear 2 money and then some childhood development block development grant money, CCDBG money as well.
Mhm. All right, thanks. We have reached a point where we currently have no additional questions in the Q&A box. So again, welcome folks to just go ahead and type in any inquiries you have, or we encourage you to raise your hand if you feel like there is a burning question you have that we haven't answered thus far about the work that we're doing.
And while we are waiting for to see if we have any additional questions, I will just reiterate, you know, we have been talking about hiring for the regional managers, and I just want to point out again and reiterate that we will stand up these councils where the interest is and where we have staff identified for the regional managers. So for your particular counties, we have had for Region 47, we have had 6 folks to fill out an interest form for the Action Council and 2 to fill out for the Family Council. So we really need to increase our efforts and target our efforts to get more folks interested in the councils in Region 47. For Region 16, we have had 2 interest forms be submitted for the Action Council, and we haven't had any to be submitted for the Family Council. So again, really need your assistance and your help with getting that interest in your region so we can stand up those councils. And then for Region 8, we have 3 that have submitted an interest form for the Action Council and none that have submitted for the Family Council. So again, really need your support in getting these councils stood up. I do want to point out that for Region 47, we are in alignment talks with the STARS for them to actually be the council for the Action Council for Region 47. So that those talks are happening and we hope to have that council solidified and stood up really soon and then have their support as far as getting a regional manager hired for that particular region. So I just wanted to point that out because it's really important that we get the interest and that, you know, we get these positions hired. And so anything that you can do to share the information, we've posted links to our site for the job opportunities. So if you could share that, that would be great. And I'll pause for a second to see if we got any other questions before I move us on to the last 2 slides.
Thank you, Sonia. The last question was actually perfectly timed, and it was about how many interest forms we'd received. So you answered it already.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right. So if we could pull up the last 2 slides, I believe we have. So again, just giving the information again to reiterate that for folks to complete an interest form, if you're interested in that Action Council or the Family Council or the Selection Committee in your particular region, again, for the Action and the Family Council, we're looking to see the diverse group of folks of around 15 members for each. And in the Selection Committee, we're looking for about 3 to 5 folks. that can sit as reviewers and looking at the interest forms and help us to use the equity matrix to seat the members of the family and the Action Council. You can visit our website. Our website is there, has a wealth of information. It is updated on a regular basis. And so if you have want to get any additional information about what we're doing, please go to our website, please subscribe. We send out emails and communication on a regular basis to update as to what we're doing. So that is available too. And then also our frequently asked questions grows daily. And so as we get questions that are asked, we update our frequently asked questions. So if there's a question that you think of after we end the session tonight, you can check our frequently asked questions. There are a ton of questions there. So your question has probably been answered already, asked and answered already. If it has not been, and you don't see it there in your frequently asked questions, again, Diana is available. Her information has been dropped into the chat where you can email her directly if you have any follow-up questions. And you can always send questions into our info@ mailbox. We answer them and we take them from there as well. Next slide. Thank you for dropping that in again, Diana. All right. So if there aren't any other questions, I would like to thank you all for taking time out of your day to join us tonight and for just sharing your thoughtful questions and your feedback and your insights. We so appreciate that, and we use all of the insights and the feedback and suggestions that we get. We take those and incorporate that into our work and as we're making plans to do things. So we really appreciate feedback, and we are definitely looking forward to working with you all. So have a great night, everyone.